Felt like talking about custom kits, so I asked you guys what kits you wanted to see in the game, and we're gonna go through some of your guys' submissions, and let's get started. First off, Wellstring. The idea for the Wellstring kit comes from Lepton here with the Strawberry Wellstring 5 with Torpedo and Crab Tank. So obviously Wellstring could use a bit of a better kit than it has now, and this is on the stronger end, but I do like the theming of helping with location and chip damage, since that's obviously something Wellstring wants to do a lot. So it's another type of location sub, but one that could help combo with the weapon a little bit better if it's getting rushed, and Crab Tank is great for it, honestly. It's in positions to use Crab very frequently, and it can play off of the main weapon's damage quite easily, gives it a little bit more to do, and I think transferring to this kind of Explosher area of effect secondary fire fits what Wellstring wants to do very well. It gives the main weapon an option to run against longer range choices or to be able to paint effectively, which means I think it would be quite interesting for a kind of backless style comp. Maybe it wouldn't be backless technically, it's hard to classify Wellstring's role right now, but I think it would be fun. Rom Nouns wants Dually Squelcher with point sensor and screen, and half the reason I picked this kit is it's kind of odd to me that sensor and screen has not been a kit yet, because it has some of the highest synergy between a sub and a special you could possibly ask for. One of Screen's problems is that you can't see through your own screen, so giving you a sub that can directly mitigate that weakness I think would be a huge buff for it. The damage is still a little bit helpful to combo with the weapon, and it can use its rolls to move in and out of the screen, so I think it's got a lot of flexibility. It could be very cool. Haltman suggested a more aggro kit for Tenebrel with Curling Bomb and Ultra Stamp, so I think this is one of the best weapons to get stamps, since it can use the shield to help make up for the weapon's lack of protection in the front, and it's a solid panic button. We've seen that since Splatoon 2. It works very well with it. Curling is the new one here. Tense never really had a bomb, so it could be kind of unique, and it gives it a way to move a bit more quickly, which is always nice for a slower weapon, so I think it could be pretty cool. Shy Guy Timmy suggested the Bamboo Mach 2 kit, but on Custom Blaster with Fizzy Bomb Super Chump. I think Fizzy would be insane on a blaster, and this is another one you could give it to. And compared to Luna, Chump would make it a much different of a role, so it's not too much overlap here, because I think Chump on blaster is pretty interesting. It paints the weapon in pretty well. It can act as a bit of cover and potentially combo. And with Fizzy Bomb, it gives you the ability to output a lot of paint. So compared to the other two blasters, this is much more flexible playstyle-wise, and I think that's something that Blaster could really use. Both its kits are fine, but they kind of lean into being very aggressive with both of them, so I think one that gives you a little more flexibility is kind of nice. Splash of Azure is suggesting the Bubblegum Decavitator with Auto Bomb and Kraken Royale. So Kraken not being on a bunch of new weapons is already a huge downside to me. I think it could be very interesting on more aggressive options, and Decavitator is an interesting one to put it on. The weapon has some speed weaknesses, so it'd still keep being kind of vulnerable when Kraken runs out, but it's one with some decent options too. An Auto Bomb is a pretty standard bomb for it, but the bomb is currently on a supportive kit for Mint right now, so I think it would be a little bit different to put it on an aggressive kit, and the cheaper ink cost and location effect could be pretty useful for it, so definitely a different type of aggro Decavitator that I think would be pretty interesting. TG is suggesting Beacon Tacticooler on Dowser Dualies. If they buff the paint of Dowsers a bit to get enough coolers, I think this would be a really interesting kit. Maybe if you run charge up spam, it'd be enough. Beacon is criminally underutilized for enabling backless comps, so it's something I really wanted to see on Splatterlings, but especially for Dowser Dualies, I really like it, and I think it would have enough time to set up beacons. It does leave the main weapon with a little bit less combat tools, but I think when it's also going to double as a cooler weapon, that's going to still open up a lot of options. Dowsers would be a very interesting backless cooler option, so there's a lot of creative routes you could take this weapon, and I really like this one. Ambrose is suggesting a Paintbrush kit with Torp and Trizuka, saying buy E-Leaders and Tri-Stringers, and yeah, this is totally a backline counter kit. You get to shark out the close range weapons, but have something to poke at longer range enemies, and of course build your Zuka. I think this would be an insanely strong kit. Torp doubling as a way to paint under the weapon is also really nice, considering that's a problem for Paintbrush, so a lot of interesting kit synergy there. Recyclebrella Mach 3 suggested by Avok Otter with Burst Bomb and Killer Whale 5.1, so obviously just leaning heavily into the damage with a little bit of displacement. And I mean, I think that's the route you have to take. Recyclebrella, it's really just built around having insane damage and fighting, so I like this as an idea. I think Burst Bomb is perfect for this weapon, and Whale is a really interesting way to just add on to that damage, so it's definitely a toolkit that can give the weapon some really quick assassin kills, or give it a way to get kill streaks a little bit better, despite the weaker shield. I really like it. Octo Yellow is suggesting the Heavy Splatling remix with Squid Beacon and Tentamissiles. Again, something I talked about with Dowser. I think Beacon is criminally underutilized on longer range weapons, and Splatlings are one of them since it got robbed from Ballpoint. I think Heavy's a close second there, and Missiles does a good job of keeping Heavy's uptime as a strength, as it's a nice ink tank refill, while getting a lot more value than Wavebreaker ever would, so I really like it. As long as the points for special is high enough to prevent spamming, it would be very cool. Toasty Ghost is suggesting another frontline cooler option with the Reflux Burst Bomb cooler. So Burst Cooler is a kit I really want to be on something. Obviously, it's tricky to decide what to put it on, but I think it opens up a lot of cool support options to have both your Burst and Cooler be attached to the same weapon. And Reflux is just a weapon I really want to be meta. It's very cool. It actually competes for that short-range shooter slot, which not a whole lot of weapons do in the support category, and I think Reflux does deserve a Burst Bomb. Honestly, it helps it out with some fighting consistency, and I think it just gives the weapon a lot more options playstyle-wise. Out of all the kits suggested, this is probably my favorite one. I hope it happens. And next up is the Forge Dually Squelchers with Autobomb and Inkjet, saying there hasn't been a dually with Jetpack, and Dually Squelcher would be a really interesting one to give Jetpack to. Obviously, its dodge rolls are very good on its recall. Autobomb is the cheaper bomb that a lot of people have suggested for it, and I think this is a really interesting option playstyle-wise, just to be able to use Inkjet to help with the weapon's poor time killing or potentially extend streaks in a unique way. It would fit the weapon a lot more than I honestly thought it would, and it would probably get a lot of them too, so I think this would be a very interesting Inkjet option. Callaway wants the X-Splosher with Auto Bomb and 10 missiles. So obviously, sub and special that both locate people seem incredibly strong on its own. The special can function as a quick ink tank refill, and obviously missiles and X-Blow would both combo extremely well together, so I think if it is expensive, like 210 on a 10-second cooldown, it could be fine. This would be a very flexible kit. In my opinion, it would be especially good against more shark-heavy comps that you want to run X-Blow into. I guess it'd kind of invalidate the vanilla kit a little bit, but I still think it would be fun. Beef Matt wants the Clear Big Swig Roller with Burst Bomb and Super Chump Cheap 190p special for the 10-second cooldown. I think Burst Bomb is like one of the only things that can save Swig. It would have a very strong combo with its horizontal flick, so it would finally be able to reliably use that as a kill option against opponents. It would come with an ink cost, of course, but I mean, that's just a huge weakness of the weapon, and it would definitely enhance its vertical a lot. I think Burst Bomb on this weapon is a very clear candidate. I'm kind of alright with Chump. It does enhance its paint, and I think it needs a team-oriented special in order to succeed here. But I think something else that could also fight a little bit better might help here, just to really fully give Swig a kit that makes up for its biggest weakness. I think Chump leans a little bit more into painting, but it would still be fine, of course. Maybe Burst Bomb on its own could be enough here. And then finally, Logic says Torp deserves to be on more weapons with the Dreadringer with Torp and Inkjet. I talked a little bit about Dread with Torp before, back when we thought it was going to get it in an earlier season. Rest in peace. So, I mean, obviously amazing sub for this weapon between multiple different combos and location utility to work with its paint. Jetpack with it would be a little bit interesting, though. Obviously, it's a strong special it can use to be able to enhance its fighting capabilities, but this doesn't have any flexibility with support, so you are giving up Dreadringer's paint when you're turning into an Inkjet, which I think is fine. The kit is good enough to be able to work, and having this trade-off between not being able to have insane paint when your special's active is honestly fine in this case when the kit is strong enough to make up for it. It just makes it a bit more interesting in terms of when you pop Inkjet, and a special that helps a bit more with fighting might be good to keep it from being a bit of a paint bot. So yeah, I really like that Dread kit. It would be an awesome third kit. And that's all the kits we got time for this time. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time.